I said, Mr. Combs is in New York. Do you want to know where he is? If you want to know where he is, I'll tell you where he is, but he wants to surrender. He's here to surrender.
Trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution. The indictment alleges that between at least 2008...
Feds raided Diddy's prison cell, and one particular thing they found, a handwritten note by Diddy, could get Diddy off the hook, a case dismissed.
The walls are closing in on Sean Diddy Combs as new allegations, lawsuits, and incriminating evidence keep piling up. What once seemed like a high-profile celebrity case is now turning into a full-blown legal disaster. With every passing day, the case against Diddy grows stronger, and now it looks like even his legal team is cracking under pressure. Attorneys are trained to remain composed under fire, but something just changed in this courtroom battle. New receipts allegedly containing damning details about Diddy's actions have surfaced, and his lawyer reportedly lost it. This dramatic reaction has left many wondering, what was in those documents that made a seasoned attorney break character? And is Diddy's entire defense team on the verge of collapse?
Arbel says, how much time is Diddy facing? Shit, with these, it's probably life. If we're gonna be honest. It's gonna, I mean, he's 55 already. He's gonna be in there if they get him. Shout out to Mixed Chick, says funds for Rent-A-Wound. Rent-A-Wound? Womb, okay. I don't want to, I mean, I was gonna make a joke. I ain't even gonna say it. Shut up, lead. All right. Yeah, I want a womb. I don't want a wound. Big shout out to Faith. Thank you so much, Faith, the beautiful Faith.
Diddy has been hit with numerous allegations over the years, but a new lawsuit has just sent shockwaves through the case. The details revealed in this latest filing are so shocking that legal experts believe they could turn the trial upside down. With this new evidence now part of the court proceedings, it's no surprise that tensions inside the courtroom have reached a boiling point.
Who are we talking about today, guys? We're talking about one Sean Diddy Combs. Where does Diddy fall on the spectrum? Is he a man that can go 6 months, 2 years, 4 years without sex? He's not. The FBI went up in his house and what they found? 1,000 bottles of baby oil? 1,000 bottles? How ashy are you? No. That was lubrication. And it's interesting with sex, you know, there's nothing that will cause a downfall.
As news of the new evidence spread, reporters questioned Diddy's legal team about how their client was handling the situation. His attorney's response? Less than convincing. The lawyer seemed caught off guard, struggling to defend Diddy's innocence while also trying to manage the growing media frenzy. With such a weak response, the question remains, was Diddy truly blindsided by his arrest, or did he always know this day was coming?
I called the prosecutors myself. I said, Mr. Combs is in New York. Do you want to know where he is? If you want to know where he is, I'll tell you where he is, but he wants to surrender. He's here to surrender. They didn't want him to surrender because if he surrenders, they don't get to tell the judge that he's a flight risk and he's a danger. Because who, as a danger and a flight risk, would fly to New York and surrender? So they didn't want him to surrender.
So since September 5th, you had known, you expected it was likely he was going to formally face charges.
So I really knew he was formally going to face charges on March 25th, the day of the searches. When Homeland Security searched his Los Angeles home, his Miami home, and his airplane, I knew that day by looking at the search warrant. It's a bad video for Mr. Combs, and he said so himself when he gave his apology. This is 8 years ago, and the prosecutors are talking about him bribing a hotel security worker. There was no criminal investigation. This was just a matter of personal embarrassment because he and the person in the video were in the midst of a 10-year relationship that was difficult at times, that was toxic at times, but it was mutually so. And this whole notion that Mr. Combs is forcing drugs on someone.
As more evidence surfaces, legal analysts have been dissecting the case, breaking down just how serious the charges against Diddy really are. Sure Shepard took the time to explain the case in detail, highlighting how the new receipts could completely change the outcome. If these documents are as damning as they seem, Diddy's legal drama didn't end with the latest lawsuit. Additional allegations have emerged, further complicating his already disastrous legal situation. These new claims, along with fresh evidence, suggest that this trial is about to take a dark and unexpected turn. With each new claim, the pressure on Diddy's attorneys intensifies. Could this be what finally made one of them snap?
Against Sean Diddy Combs, as well as claims against many other individuals and entities that we will name as defendants as we file these individual cases. And you should know, to the extent the clients feel comfortable, we also intend to make these individuals available to the authorities, specifically to the FBI. And you should also know a few of them have already been spoken to by the FBI. Now, before we discuss the nature of the claims and claimants themselves, let me comment on the large volume of calls we have received since our first announcement. Even before the indictment of Sean Combs, to pursue cases in civil court against Sean Diddy Combs. You should know, in this group, it is evenly divided between males and females. There are 60 males and 60 females who have joined us to pursue these claims as plaintiffs. In this group, 62% identify as African American, 30% are white, and the remainder are Hispanic or Asian. The victims are from more than 25 states. The majority are from California, New York, Georgia, and Florida. And I want to focus on the ages of these victims. When we talk about the ages of the victims when the conduct occurred, it's shocking.
As the prosecution continues to build its case, experts are weighing in on just how much trouble Diddy could be in. A legal analyst recently explained the charges in full, leaving no doubt that this case is serious, and that the new evidence could be devastating. With legal experts now saying that Diddy could be facing years behind bars, his team may be scrambling to find any way to lessen the damage.
Trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution. The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice. Let me say a little bit more about the charges. The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women. On one occasion in March of 2016, that conduct was captured on video and later reported in the media. Specifically, Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a victim in a Los Angeles hotel when the victim was attempting to flee. As alleged, these assaults often resulted in injuries to the victims, which took days or weeks to heal. In addition to the violence, the indictment alleges that Combs threatened and coerced victims to get them to participate in the freak-offs. He used the embarrassing and sensitive recordings he made of the freak-offs as collateral.
The biggest shock of the day came when one of Diddy's attorneys apologized to the court, something almost unheard of in high-profile cases. Speculation is now swirling about whether they lost control due to the weight of the evidence, or if this is a sign that even Diddy's own legal team is realizing they're in over their heads. For a legal team that once seemed confident in their defense, this sudden change in demeanor is very telling.
Ori Spado, the accidental gangster. I want to give you the latest update, just fresh off the press. The latest. The U.S. Attorney has sent this letter to Judge Subramia. The government respectfully submits this letter in further response to the court's inquiry during the November 22, 2024 bail hearing. regarding the applicability of United States versus Bustani, 932 F3D, I don't have to read those, to the defendant's proposed conditions of release. After reviewing the transcript, the government recognizes that it may have misunderstood the court's initial questions. To clarify, as set forth in the government's opposition briefing and at the hearing, the government is seeking the defendant's detention based on his danger to the community, including the serious risk of obstruction of justice he poses, as well as the defendant's risk of flight. Because the government does not seek detention based only on risk of flight, relying primarily on the defendant's personal wealth, Bustani's holdings apply.
Legendary defense attorney Robert Shapiro, known for his role in O.J. Simpson's trial, has now weighed in on the case. His analysis of the situation suggests that Diddy's team may be in far more trouble than they initially let on. If a legal expert like Shapiro sees major flaws in Diddy's defense, it may only be a matter of time before things completely fall apart.
Do you think Diddy stands any chance at beating the charges?
You know, first of all, I think there's going to be a different group of charges than what he's facing right now. Anytime you're in federal court and anytime you're not on bail, you have an uphill battle.
So you think more indictments, superseding indictments?
I would think there's probably a likelihood that may happen.
Wow. So you don't think there's a fighting chance that he's going to get the...
Oh, there's always a chance. I
Yeah.
mean, every trial you have a chance. You're going with a presumption of innocence. But federal court, New York, you're in custody. It's a tough battle. He's got great lawyers, and I wish the system will decide.
Do you think others will take a fall here? Like other names are going to be indicated?
I have no idea. Every case in federal court is challenged.
Right, yeah. What's his best defense?
I don't know enough about the facts to comment on it.
As courtroom cameras captured the chaotic scene, people couldn't help but notice that Diddy was seen secretly passing notes to his lawyers. The contents of these messages remain unknown, but legal experts believe they could hint at a last-minute strategy shift. Is Diddy panicking behind the scenes? And if so, what does that mean for his defense?
Feds raided Diddy's prison cell, and one particular thing they found, a handwritten note by Diddy, could get Diddy off the hook, a case dismissed. I'm lawyer Ian Corzine, and this is the Lawless and Legal podcast. Diddy's lawyers showed up to federal court yesterday, and they argued that Diddy's handwritten notes from his prison cell by the feds should be suppressed. They're scared of the admissions and other statements that are in those handwritten notes. You'll remember that federal agents took these handwritten notes allegedly as part of a prison-wide sweep for illegal substances and electronics. Now, suppress means that Diddy's lawyers want these handwritten notes and the admissions and statements contained therein excluded, not included in evidence for Diddy's May 5th, 2025 trial. Diddy's lawyers also argued to Judge Subramanian that the case against Diddy should be entirely thrown out. They're arguing that 11 pages of these 19 pages of notes seized by the feds contain information and communications directly to Diddy's lawyers. And we talked about yesterday, there is a strong argument that when federal officials go into a prison cell without a warrant, without notice and opportunity to be heard by Diddy, then there are violations of the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments. If you want more on this, watch my video from yesterday. I'm going to put a link down below. Now, Diddy's lawyers argue that the feds taking these handwritten notes without notice, without a warrant, is so egregious that the entire case against Diddy should be thrown out, or at the very least, the prosecutors that did this should be fired.
As the case intensifies, Diddy's attorneys have been desperately trying to secure his release. They've pleaded for leniency, claiming that he has been cooperative, but the court isn't budging. The fact that they're struggling to get him out on bail is a huge red flag, one that suggests the court sees him as a serious legal risk.
A letter was just released from Diddy's attorneys looking to have him released on bail, saying that he's been extremely cooperative flight risk and he's trying to sell his plane, so we swear he's trustworthy. Just let him out on bail and, put a monitor on him. Now, you can read it for yourself. I'll link it on my X post, but it's an interesting read. It's a couple of pages long and there's a lot of details in there. It's just very interesting to see how they're pleading, saying that, he's trying to sell off his residences so he has bail money. Since when do you commit crimes like this and have all of this time to get your affairs in order before you get arrested? Like, you've already been given enough time, Mr. Combs, after doing all of the things that you did for years, and you have the nerve to be asking to be let off on bail.
In a final blow to Diddy's defense team, his lawyer was unable to secure a bond for his release. This failure, combined with the attorney's alleged meltdown, has left many wondering if Diddy is running out of options. With his legal team in shambles and new receipts surfacing by the day, it's becoming clearer than ever that Diddy's downfall may be inevitable. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody. So we made a bail appeal to Judge Carter. It did not go our way. The fight continues. We're not giving up by a long shot. I told Mr. Combs I'm going to try and get his case to trial as quickly as possible. I'm going to try and minimize the amount of time that he spends in very, very difficult and, I believe, inhumane housing conditions in the special housing unit in the Metropolitan Detention Facility. And I'm going to do everything that I can to move his case as quickly as possible. I understand that the government has a great amount of electronic devices that they have to download and provide to me.
Diddy's courtroom saga has gone from bad to worse. With new bombshell receipts dropping, his attorneys seem to be falling apart under the pressure. Reports of an attorney losing their composure in court, apologizing, and even struggling to secure bail paint a picture of a defense team that is barely holding on.
And we are going to try to bring that about through additional legal process. But wherever he is, his resolve is the same. He believes he's innocent. I believe he's innocent. And we're going to fight this case with all of our might until we don't have to fight any longer.
As the case unfolds, one thing is clear: Diddy's legal battle is only getting more intense. Will his team be able to salvage what's left of his defense? Or is this the beginning of the end for one of music's most powerful figures? The truth is coming out, and it's looking worse for Diddy with each passing day.